Okay, let's get started. This is fairly simple. Okay, inverse relations with inverse functions and relations. It's going to seem a little weird to start because we're just going to kind of do something. I'm not really going to tell you why we're doing it, but once we do it one time, I'll show you why and what it does. Okay, so it's going to be a little weird. Okay, Hughes?
Will it deal with some of the stuff we learned?
Yes. Yep. Okay. Basically, this lesson has a 4-step process. All right, let's do this. As Anthony just said, is this going to have stuff to do with what we did last time? Yes, you will still be given functions.
Are we writing?
Yes, please do. Okay? It'll be f of x, g of x, h of x. Those are your big three. Okay? F of x, what you'll do with it is you'll switch it to y. Okay, so if you don't want to write the whole words, I do have shorthand for these steps. Okay? And I'll do those in red. First step, rewrite the equation as with x and y. Basically, you just change f of x to y. Okay. Step 2, exchange x and y. X and y switch places. Step 3, solve for y. Step 4, y into f inverse of x. Okay? Now, the very most important step, and I say this, and I take it with a grain of salt, is this exponent right here, -1. Okay? You're talking about a relationship between two functions. Okay? It's almost like talking about two guys that are brothers. There's a relationship there, a special relationship there. There's a relationship amongst these functions also. Okay? And the relationship that we're talking about, we'll find out after we do this 4-step process to the first guy we do. Okay? But those are your 4 steps for these. You take whatever equation I give you with f of x, you change that f of x to y. You then flip-flop x and y's place in the equations. You do some algebra stuff, you solve for y, and then you go back into function notation. Any questions? Okay. Same 4 steps all day long. All right? If you wanted to, you can. You don't have to, though. If you write down the words, you'll be fine. All right? Here we go. Number 1. Find the inverse of f of x equals 2x minus 5. Okay, step 1. You don't have to write that number, but I'm going to. Y equals 2x minus 5. Step 2. X equals 2y minus 5. Okay, switch x and y. Okay, everybody good? Exchange. Rewrite f of x as y. Flip-flop x and y. Now, step 3 is solve for y. And that could take more than one step. All right, just depends on what kind of equation you got. But you need to solve for y, which means get y by itself. Okay? So the first step to get x equals 2y minus 5 by itself is what? Nope. About an and 5.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. So x plus 5 equals 2y. Because you got to get y by itself, right? And then you're going to Divide by 2. And when you divide by 2, make sure you divide everything by 2. Okay? Which becomes 1/2 x plus 5/2 equals y. Steps 1, 2, and 3. Step 4, rewrite with y as f to the negative first of x equals 1/2 x plus 5/2. That's your answer. You don't need to circle the 4 though. That's your answer. Okay. Alexa. Follow your same 4 steps. Inverse of f of x equals x squared plus 1. Y equals x squared plus 1. Number 2. Switch x and y. So the left side becomes x, the right side becomes y squared. Okay? You literally rewrite x and y different places. You don't like move the powers or any numbers attached to it. You switch them. Okay? Subtract 1. Right? Minus 1. And how do you undo that square power on y? You square root them. Good. Square root it. Square root it. Okay? So the square root of x minus 1 equals y. And then step 4, rewrite f negative 1 of x equals square root of x minus 1. F of x to y. Switch x and y. Alright. Now what?
Don't you switch? Switch. Plus 1.
Add 1. Add 1. Okay. So x plus 1 equals 2 y squared. Okay. Now, here's where this one's a little weird. What's your next step to get y by itself? No. Not subtract. Hold on. Not subtract. Divide. Okay? Because it's attached, right? It's 2 times y squared. Alright? So, to undo that multiplication, you got to divide. Now, here's where this gets a little messy. When you divide this by 2, look long term what you got to do. After we're done dividing by 2, we're going to then what? Square root it to get rid of that square power. Okay? Now, it is much, much easier to take a square root of one big fraction. Okay? So when you divide this x plus 1, divide the whole thing. Okay? Yes, you can. When you take a square root in your problem, do that. So x plus 1 over 2 equals y squared. Because your next step then will be square root it. Because then you can just go like that over that whole fraction. Okay, so the square root of x plus 1 over 2 like that equals y. And then rewrite it with a negative 1. So square root of x plus 1 over 2. Yep. Fast. Here we go. F of x goes to y. Switch x and y. Okay. Now, we got to get y by itself. First step in doing that is going to be add 3. So we get x plus 3 equals 1/3 y. Okay, now we got to get rid of that 1/3 that's ahead of y. So you divide by the 1/3, which means multiply by 3 over 1. Now the weird part of that is this: you're not used to doing it where the number that you're multiplying by is like on the right side, where it's in between the equal sign and the number. So you kind of have to visualize it, right? So you kind of have to visualize. All right, I'm multiplying this by 3, which takes out that denominator. And when you multiply the left side by 3, you got to make sure you distribute. Yeah, you do the whole thing. Okay? Because you're multiplying the whole side, not just the x, the whole side. So you get 3x plus 9 equals y. Function notation. Okay. Now, you should also, last thing, since you understand or know the relationship between a function and its inverse, you can figure out whether you're right or wrong every single time. Okay? All you got to do is pick a number. All right? Now, I wouldn't necessarily pick 6 or 7 or 54. I would pick something real easy. I'd pick 0. Plug 0 in for this x. What's 0 times a third? 0. What's 0 minus 3? -3. Okay? -3 now goes into this x right here, right? Because that's what we got up top. So what's -3 times +3? -9. -9 plus 9. 0. So that's how you know for sure, 1,000%, you got the inverse.
But so when there's an exponent in this, you do put them in the square root.
Square root.
Yes.
Right. Yep. Page 396, 15 through 23.